Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family, and we chose this one. It's episode 150, Paris, Texas from 1984. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode's brought to you by Texas Instruments. TI Inspire CX CAS handheld graphing calculator. Shout out to Texas Instruments.
Well, shout out to Texas Instruments and welcome to episode 150. It just feels like, just in this very quarantine, this very lockdown, we were celebrating episode 100, and here we are, 150, doing 2 a week, burning rubber, proverbial, metaphorical rubber, to talk about Paris, Texas. As people might remember, we rescheduled. Today was supposed to be a Nico Kevo episode. We rescheduled to accommodate their schedules, so that will come next week. But this week, we've got Paris, Texas today, Shutter Island on Friday. Big week. But Joe, extracurricular activities, what have you been up to since we last spoke?
I've been watching trash TV because this Wednesday Steelers game really threw my fucking week off.
Sure.
And between the game on Wednesday and the shitty weather we've been having, every day kind of feels like a Sunday. I needed a mental detox this week, so I've been watching reality TV. I told you about this show that we were watching before called Smothered, and it was about weird relationships between mothers and daughters.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, TLC made another version, and it's called I Love a Mom. No, it's called I Love a Mama's Boy, and it's weird relationships between mothers and their sons.
Okay.
This is arguably better because the moms say the rowdiest shit to their girlfriends to their faces. Stuff that you would never imagine would come out of someone's mouth, directly to their faces. They're just I know that my son won't be happy with you, and I'm trying to find him a new girlfriend, to their face. So it's not like you're a dumb bitch or whatever. It's stuff like that, and you're oh God, you could think this, but you don't say it.
I have a very important question for you, and this is based on a tweet that you had sent. We both sent very different tweets within a minute of each other the other night. You said that TLC is the best trash TV, and I'm here for all of it. Something to that effect, right? That you love all of it. When you say that one is very clearly better than another, or this is whatever, in 6 months, will you remember any? I'm just wondering, when you say one is better than another, does it all melt away, or do things actually oh man, that was actually really good?
No. It's the most enjoyment, best production, and least repetitive. It's not good. It's just they're the best at making trash TV for what I want from it. It's totally subjective, right?
What's your ideal trash TV show?
People causing a lot of drama, mild fighting, nothing physical, people that I can laugh at that I don't really feel bad for.
Okay.
Those kind of things.
Sure, okay.
There's sometimes that
you don't want to feel bad.
No. And I definitely don't want to be this is exploiting these people. The Smothered and I Love a Mama's Boy, whatever. These are shows that these people are choosing to be on these shows, right? They're not hard up and it's the complete opposite of you watch some Cops episodes and you're dude, this person, I feel bad for that person.
Right.
This is these people are spoiled and they just don't know how to interact with other humans, so that's what happens. And those are my favorite types of reality show. And they're also not the Kardashians where they're super vain and into themselves. They are, but they're also not famous, so it doesn't matter.
Understandable. Anything else you've been up to in the last couple of days?
Baking some bread today. Made some pizza dough. Getting back on.
You doing San Francisco sourdough or something different?
Italian sourdough.
Oh, okay.
For bread and pizza dough. So I got the bread proofing. I'll bake that after we're done recording today. The pizza dough's proofing, but that'll take 2 days. So hunkering, it's getting colder, and we said, the weather's shitty. So I'm getting ready to start baking a lot more again. So
we are now, as the weather gets colder, we are now in crunch time for me and my movie list. There are still, I want to figure out the exact count because it's crazy. I have now officially seen as many new releases this year. I was saying I was getting close, but I've now seen as many new releases this year as I did all of last year, and I still have almost a full month to go, and I have a lot more that I'm going to see. There are still 61 movies, probably more than that I can watch, that I can legally get my hands on this year that I want to see. I'm not going to see 61 movies in these next 25, 26 days, whatever, probably 30 or 40 or something, but
you'll hit a lot because you're going to have some downtime with Christmas coming up and stuff.
What's also going to be different is that, normally, and I think I probably talked about this in the past on the show, but we've gone to Vegas the last 8 years for CES, and CES is all digital, and so I'm not traveling, and it's a different kind of prep this year. So instead of having a hellish December where like movies are my refuge. Like just I cannot do any more work. I need to get my mind off of it. I'll watch a movie. Like it's more a laid back, like more of a normal work month, which is gonna be very good. But
That's awesome.
still a bunch more. But this week I saw a handful of great movies that I will recommend, not go too much in detail. I was saying before a couple of weeks ago, there is the new 5 movie Steve McQueen series, Small Acts on Prime. I watched one of those, Lovers Rock, which is great.
Okay.
I watched a movie on Prime called Sound of Metal, which is where Riz Ahmed. Did you ever see The Night of?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I watched The Night of.
So the guy from The Night of, the main guy from The Night of, Riz
Mm.
Ahmed, who is also Jake Gyllenhaal's assistant in Nightcrawler, he plays in this movie a drummer in a metal band that, like, in the first 10 minutes, starts to lose his hearing. You know, that's not good for a musician, and
No.
has to come to figure out where to go from there. That's really great. I don't know if you know this, but there's a new Fincher movie out today on Netflix.
No. What is it?
It's called Mank, Mank, and it's
Oh,
about the guy who wrote Citizen Kane.
okay. I saw somebody tweet like a screenshot of it that was really interesting or something yesterday, and it said like Mank on Netflix, but I didn't know what it was,
So Fincher had done Mindhunter on Netflix, which is a
which I
two
love.
season thing, which is awesome, which
Yep.
is no longer going to happen. Maybe
Nope.
it'll come back, but it's a lot of work and wasn't a huge audience and whatever. But
Sad.
Netflix has different things
Shot in
anyway.
Pittsburgh. Shot in Pittsburgh.
This is his new movie, and I've been really looking forward to it with my friend Bob, and we've been up and down because like it kind of like what he has done. Like he could do such more interesting things. I feel like than writing a movie about the guy who wrote Citizen. Like what? It's just like a
Yes,
weird kind of
I
topic,
agree.
but like
Yep, I get it.
we've been going up and down about whether we're excited for it or not. I don't know, but like it's a new Fincher movie, and like that's like kind of an
Yeah, that's
event,
cool.
right? Like it's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
big deal. So I'm gonna watch that tonight. I'll talk about that next episode. There's also a couple of movies out on VOD this weekend that I think are both like in my kind of genre wheelhouse of weird horror. Whatever is Freaky, which is a body swap Freaky Friday where I think a girl swaps bodies, maybe with Vince Vaughn.
I feel like
Eh,
I've seen like previews for this, but like months and months ago.
So it was it was one of those ones that went to theaters. So they're like, "Hey, we're bringing it to theaters or whatever," and then like it's on VOD now. But it's
Okay,
apparently
okay.
great. And there's a new movie called Black Bear, which I don't know what it's about, but it's got your girl Aubrey Plaza, who actually just joined a Jason
Ooh,
Statham movie. But this
ooh.
is another kind of thriller-ish movie with Aubrey Plaza. So I'm gonna watch those this
I
weekend
have a
too. But
huge crush on Aubrey Plaza, man.
no,
You know
I know,
that.
I know, I know. We've talked about it on here even. Like in a year where nobody's really making things, how are there still movies? It's like, well, a lot of these were done, but like there's still a lot of great stuff out there. So if
Well,
you
we
want
know
good
the
movies,
yeah,
they're
and
out
we
there.
know the like production schedules. Like F9 is done. Like it's been done because it was supposed to come out in fucking April.
Yep.
So
Mm-hmm.
movies aren't made the week before that they come out, right? Like
Right.
yeah, so there's a lot of movies that are done that are just like and they get slotted and pushed back, so it makes sense that there is still movies coming out.
Also, I don't know if you watched the first season. I don't know if anybody out there is watching, but the new season of The Mandalorian is great, and the 2 most recent episodes are maybe the 2 best episodes in the
I've
season and a
heard
half they've done.
this
It's so
from
goddamn good.
everyone. I've heard this from everyone that they love it and that they're super stoked on the new season. I haven't watched the first season. I would like to try to convince Rachel to watch it. I think that she would be game for it. I think what did she watched like through episode 1, so she has to watch like you know she's a very much a completist when it comes to stuff like this.
So there is a pod. I know that you guys are not really big podcast listeners, but there's a podcast called Newcomers, which is with Lauren Lapkus, who I love, who's in Comedy Bang Bang World, and Nicole Byer, who is the host of Nailed It. And they do a show called Newcomers, where the two of them watch like these big franchises that they've never seen
Yes.
before. So they
Yeah,
did
we
Star
remember
Wars, and
this.
now they're doing Lord of the Rings, and maybe they're
Yep.
on something else. But like, if you wanted to kind of follow along, like if there's a lot that Rachel has not seen, they're both obviously wonderful people that are both very, very funny. Effectively, kind of, sort of doing what she would be doing too. So
Yes,
again,
that's
I know you
cool.
guys aren't huge on the podcast
No, but
scene,
we
but
like Nailed It, and I
yep,
like that the host of Nailed It. She's really cool. So
I think that's it. Been reading books. Have not really been playing games. Just getting through this. We were talking before we started recording, like gloomy weather, but not terrible. Like it could be worse, but it also could be a lot nicer.
yeah, yeah. I mean, for the beginning of December in the Northeast, it's not awful, but
Yep.
like everything is blowing outside my house right now, and it's raining sideways. So like, I'm not leaving.
You look at the thermometer, you're like, oh, it's like 44. Okay, that's not terrible. You go outside and like the wind is blowing in your like through
Yes.
you. You're like, oh, I can't. Like,
Yep.
and again, I know that Justin's up in Minneapolis. And we have Ben in Alaska and whoever,
Yeah.
but like I know that their cold is different than our cold, but it's the kind of it's the time of the year where it's like wind will fuck you up in a way that like the thermometer does not gauge, and so.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to walk 3 or 4 miles a day, and, like, sometimes it's been like, when it's, like, 45 and just, like, no wind, it's like, "Oh, this is actually pretty pleasant." And then there's somewhere it's, like, 40 or, like, 37 and slightly rainy and windy as fuck. I'm like, "Oh god, just, like, I just gotta finish it, just gotta do it, just gotta do it, gotta get through it." But anyway, speaking of those people before, we have a Patreon page here in the show, Too Fast, TooForever.com. Shout out to Cassie Wilson, Jake Freer, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, Alex Ellenen, Justin Kleinman, Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber
Ooh.
Party, Haley Gerbies, Wes Hampton, Christian Larson, Jerry Robinson, Dan the Duke Hayden, Renato Di Donato, Jessica Collins, aka Montez.
Montez.
Shout out to all of you. Thank you all for supporting us, the $5 level or above. It doesn't really fit anywhere else, but I was very happy to see both Jerry sent us a thing on Instagram and Justin posted on our wall because Spotify is doing their year-end wrapped
I know, and
things.
Haley sent us one too. She sent us one in messages too.
The amount of time, so like, okay,
God, I know.
so Justin and Jerry have both listened to this show for more than 10 days. The amount of minutes in the year. So okay, so think about that. So that means that we have spoken, you and I have spoken for
Yeah.
more than 10 days, but realistically it's like
It's
probably 13, 14, 15
yeah,
days
because you
because
edit
I've
it down.
edited it down. And that
Yeah.
also means that I've spent another 25 days or so. And this is like actual, like not just like, 9 to 5 out, actually like 24-hour
Yeah.
periods. I've
Yeah.
spent another 20 to 25 to 30 days editing, plus all the time that we spent watching. So, like, a good chunk of this year, like maybe like 15% of the year, 10 to 15 to 20% of
Has
the year
revolved
is
around
just
this.
this.
Just
So,
this. It's a
boy, I
lot.
mean, it's gotten us through the year, but that's like just seeing the actual. I'm like, is that? I'm like, oh well, we've put out I think 80 episodes or something this year, and if you figure an
Yeah.
hour and a half each on average, like that's that. Like that, the number is there, the math adds up.
It does. It's a ton. It's a whole ton. I guess that's why our extracurriculars are a little low sometimes, even in
It's the one time where I wish that I listened to podcasts on Spotify. Like I don't for different reasons, but like I love the music because I listen to all music on Spotify, and so the artist that I listen to, like all Phoebe Bridgers this year, that's all accurate because like that's where I listen to things. But like seeing other people like the podcast they listen to, which it's cool to like
I know.
it's to see it all in one place and be like, I wonder, like, I don't know what my number one would be. Maybe like Comedy Bang Bang. I don't know. I don't know what my number one podcast would be because it would be Never Not Funny, but it's cool to see the thing. So anyway, thank you all for listening and for
Yeah,
supporting the
thank you.
show and writing in and all that sort of stuff.
I still don't believe it. I think you guys photoshopped all these numbers because you're crazy for listening that much.
Also, if you want to get yourself a token of swag, I don't think the store is on sale now, but I think as this comes out, it'll be the next 3 days. But our Too Fast, Too Forever shop, which is at TeePublic, link on our Twitter bio. You can go get some t-shirts. My things shipped. They will be here
Oh
soon, so I'm
yeah.
looking forward to getting them
If you
soon. I just
received
don't have
them,
them
send
yet.
us some pictures. Tell us what you think about the shop.
Family@cageclub.me. And speaking of emails, Joe, we have 5 emails today, including, finally, we are able to open Justin's email, which I think we'll save for last. I don't know what it is yet still,
Okay,
but I
okay.
feel like we've waited. When
What
did
if
he
you
send us?
hype it and he's just like, "Congrats on 150," and then that's it?
He sent us 24 days ago, so we'll see. I mean, we'll find out.
Okay.
First up from Jerry Robinson. I think this is a follow up to his other one from the other night. Scary moment.
Okay.
Because remember in the last episode, he was talking about how I think Ileana's cousin tested positive for COVID, so he
Yes.
was getting a
Yes.
test and he was waiting. Hey guys, on Friday, I got a call from Ileana while at work. She never calls unless it's something serious, and I text her
Ugh.
where I'm going to be just in case. And she says one of her cousins in Tennessee tested positive for the global bastard, which we knew. I think that was the catching up
First
from
part.
last time. Instantly getting worried, I scheduled my test this past Sunday. Now her cousin didn't show symptoms, but earlier that Sunday, she told me her uncle tested positive and was showing mild symptoms. Got my results back about an hour ago and I'm negative. Woohoo!
Good job. Oof, good.
I was home since Saturday until my test results. Now, Ileana and Adrian's tests are tomorrow. She told me that instead of staying in, Adrian still went to work, being at risk to everyone, and that their
Ugh.
tests are negative like mine. Well, that's not great,
That's not the right way to do that, but hopefully nobody else gets sick.
but I'm glad that you are negative.
I'm very glad that you're negative, brother.
And I don't know. I think he wrote in again, but I don't think I have got any updates. But I feel like he would have said something. I think if there was more of an update there. So hopefully, all good news on that front. But yeah,
Yeah. Hopefully
terrible, terrible
Leon is good
time.
too.
Our next email from recent patron Renato Di Donato. Subject line: Fast and Furious Crossroads. Parentheses. Slight spoilers.
Okay.
Hey guys, just got around to finally playing Crossroads. After hearing you'll be covering it this round, thought it was pretty neat to get an F&F storyline in a game. I
Yes.
really like a lot of Easter eggs and callouts to the other films. Thought Cam and Vienna were pretty good additions. New Orleans and Morocco were cool settings, and it made me think about how the Fastiverse more in video games, which is a great medium to expand such ideas.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed.
I did have a lot of issues with gameplay and graphics, some of the voice acting and aspects of mission design, but it got me thinking about a new game nonetheless. Okay. Thinking about what they could do with the next game if there were ever one, I had an idea that would be inspired by some Need for Speed games. Have it start in Miami as more of an open world map where you have to complete a set of races to gain rep and be able to customize your own cars.
I like it. Okay,
You
keep
then
going.
take on certain bosses with story ramifications, such as Suki's crew and Tej's crew.
Ooh,
Maybe getting a
okay.
bit more of background on him where he used to race himself. It's also where
Okay.
you link up with Cam and Vienna to help set up the race that eventually forced them out of the country. So this is kind of like a prequel. I like this. Okay, this is cool. This is cool.
And it includes Cam and Vienna too, which is
Yep.
cool.
You get to see what happens in the race and that you're forced to bail out of it and start over again in LA in reverse to what Brian did to get to Miami. Okay. Miami to
Okay.
LA. I like that. In LA, you have to build up rep again to enter Race Wars, where you take on Dom and end up joining his crew and complete certain jobs alongside Dom and Letty, like hijacking trucks for merch or car parts. You
Oh,
could also set
okay.
up missions with Jesse and Vince, for example, to get some of the mission structure variety from Crossroads. You have to get a lot of moments and maybe a barbecue in there with Dom, Mia, and Letty, seeing what their life is like before the first film. Even a mention of Cena's character. Ooh, Brother Jacob. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Story could build up to a job where Dom has a close call and you ultimately end up having to take the heat from the cops, which would close the link on your character not being mentioned in later titles, at least not as haphazardly, lol.
It works.
The story would conclude where the Fast and Furious car meets starts, and then a green eclipse shows up. Ooh.
Uh
The idea is full on fan service, as you would see all the build up to the first film and linking Crossroads, but having more of a focus on the driving and becoming a part of the family before time as you knew them would be sick. Early 2000s nostalgia is kicking in pretty huge, and a car game focused on models from that era would be nuts, which is why Need for Speed Underground 2 would be good inspiration with modern graphics and gameplay.
and I think they build them on these engines anyways, right? So
Yeah, they're not building things from scratch. Like there's, I don't
they're
know if it's like
using like
open source or whatever, but yeah, for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Hearing about Vin Diesel setting up a TV series, the spin off films, and all that, I think another video game would be a great addition to expand the universe the same way Batman and Spider Man games did alongside the films,
Mhm.
TV, and comics.
Agreed.
Sure, you guys will talk about it, but was wondering if you could look for what you would look for in another Fast and Furious video game.
I think we do talk about it. And we'll talk about it when we cover it with Nico and Kevo.
It always surprises me a little bit. I think just because, like, when I think of him as comics number one and like movies number two, but like how much of a gamer Nico is, I'm sure he will have
Yeah.
thoughts on the. Because I don't think he's playing it. I think he's just going to watch the playthrough. But I'm sure he will have thoughts on how to, the history of games and video
And
games
just
and
like his
playing and whatever.
designer brain of like making comics and stuff like that, like he will have ideas on story production and
Yeah.
stuff too.
What I would like to see in future video games is I like the idea of a prequel. What
I
was
really
actually
do.
really cool, and I think it was before, I don't remember the exact time, it was before Matrix Reloaded. It must have been between Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions. There was a game on original Xbox, I'm assuming it was also on PS2, called Enter the Matrix. And it was kind of filling in gaps between the two
This is
movies,
it. Yes.
and there was the Jada Pinkett Smith character. I think her name was Niobe, and there was Ghost. The game's about them, and so like they're characters you know from the movies, but like you
More
see,
story of them.
it's story you don't need to know to appreciate the movies, but story that like builds in and factors in, kind of like this, like the first Crossroads did with the games. It's like we don't need to know about Cam and Vienna, but like we kind of get a sense of like, especially with whatever's going to come at nine, maybe where Dom and Letty were in those months or whatever, right?
Yep.
So I think like I love the idea of like kind of a build your own, create your own character who like joins Dom's crew and takes the fall for him and like is that's why he's not in the movies or whatever. But I also kind of like the idea of having like kind of characters even like small. Like I think Roman and Tej are too big to play as, but like in the like a Vince story or like maybe more modern, like almost like a Rico and Tego game. Like they're too small. I don't know, but like a
It should be Ramsey, but you can't have it be like a hacker game. That should be the character you play as.
it's
But
yeah, like a character who like kind of comes in to help every once in a while behind the scenes almost adds to the great story. It's a character we already know. No, no, no. Like I'd be okay with anything.
I like the Renato idea that I think that he hits the nail on the head. This is a great place to have a prequel because we do want to know the prequel story, but it wouldn't really fit in the movies because what are we going to do, like underage everyone to make them look like that, and we don't have Brian anymore, and how do you confront that? This would be a great place to put something like that in. So I agree with the idea that even more so than like we added new characters, that we kind of go back and we can add a new character, but it fills in a story beforehand, which would be interesting.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a good blend.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I feel like the TLDR of a lot of what we say with like, what do we want in a new movie? What do we want in a new game? It's like, as long as you give us like more character based stuff and like you don't make it shitty, like I'm okay with anything, right?
Pretty much, yeah, exactly.
Give us more story, make it fun, make it on brand, and we're cool with it.
Yep.
Thank you, Renato, for writing in. It was good to hear if you like those ideas. I love the kind of like a half Need for Speed, almost like a GTA kind of like building up your rep and
I
like,
wonder if you
yeah.
listened to the Andy episode yet.
I don't know. I think he caught up. Maybe he didn't. That was a long time ago. I mean, it wasn't a long time ago, but it was a long time. It was probably like 50. When was that episode? Oh no, 119.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, not awful.
So I think you better get there. Yeah, but I don't know. All right, our next email from Alex Ellen in subject line. You said it could be about anything because we were saying, email in about anything, whatever.
About anything, seriously, yeah.
I had a thought the other day and didn't think it'd be relevant to F&F, but then someone had an email, which I think is Wells, that touched on it a little here. So here you go.
Okay.
In Mission Impossible, it says your mission should you choose to accept it. What if he doesn't accept it? Doesn't sound like he's replying with a no. It just fucking self-destructs. He mails some ashes back in an envelope, so some villain just gets to take over the world or whatever because he didn't accept it. Movie runtime, 6 minutes.
Exactly. I love this. I wish that we had more like skill sets that you could make like 4-minute YouTube videos that would be like, this is your mission if you choose to accept it. And he'd be like, nah, I'm good. And then it's just
Yeah.
like, okay, cool. That's it. End of the movie.
Like, I wonder in that, and I don't know if you have, I like this idea. So email in, but like, I wonder what would be like the longest movie. Like, what movie would still like would nothing? I don't know how to phrase this, but like, what movie would the fewest things change if the protagonist chose not to engage? And then like, what would be the shortest movie? So essentially, like, there's probably some movies out there that like, it's kind of like a passive protagonist who like him not getting involved or her
The
not getting
Matrix
involved
has
or
to be
whatever.
short. You said like the Matrix because like the Matrix would have to be like follow
Oh
the
yeah, he
white
takes the
rabbit.
blue pill and just like it's like he just goes back to work.
I was thinking follow the white rabbit and just he's like, nah, I'm good.
Oh, that too. Yeah.
Beginning of the movie, like you should follow the white rabbit. I'm like, nah, just
Oh yeah, he doesn't even get to meet Trinity or Morpheus. He just never goes to the club.
yeah. He just like he just shuts his laptop off and goes to sleep.
Or even shorter, like he just has an internet outage and just like, oh, sorry, like I can't. The router's not rebooting. Sorry, I just can't get online.
It's just him just rebooting his router, and he's like, ah, good, GeoCities, perfect.
Very cool. geocities.com/user/there-is-no-spoon.htm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Our next email from Jerry Robinson again, subject line Tokyo Drift. He says, this will be kind of quick, but I'm watching Tokyo Drift and I'm kind of high. And watching Sean do that complex drift was dope, but the shit was when the true drift king Keiichi Toshiya says not bad. That's a straight up acknowledgement.
Yeah. When he's sitting on the docks there, I agree.
All right, our last email. Okay, here we go. Finally, Justin, you better not let us down because I don't know what this is. Subject line, do not read until episode 150. Hey guys, congrats on making it to 150, creating the Too Fast, Too Forever family. This video says it all for me. So, okay, hold on. Here's a video. Okay. Ooh.
What is it?
It's 3 minutes long. I don't know how we're going to do this, but I see what it is, and I'm very excited.
What is happening, Joey and Joe 2? What is going on, boys? It's Chad Lindbergh, a.k.a. Jesse. From the original Fast and the Furious. What is going on, guys?
No.
The word on the street is that your podcast, the Too Fast, Too Ever podcast, is up for people to view 150 episodes. Guys, congratulations, all right? Congratulations.
Holy shit.
This message, this cameo, this video of love was
my
booked
God.
by your friend Justin. Justin was like, hey, can we do something special right now? Because this needs to happen. They've shot 150 episodes. While you guys watch all the Fast and the Furious movies, I have so many questions. Which one is your favorite? It all goes back to number one. Always, it was about the racing, and now we're leaping over submarines, but hey, it keeps the number one in play. You know what I'm saying? Listen, guys, I want to say thank you so much for being a part of the Fast family. It is super, super cool. I love hearing that you guys are doing this podcast. I had not known about it until this moment in time, till Justin pointed this out. So I'm going to go and take a look when I'm done shooting this cameo and see what you guys are doing. I think it's super fun and cool. We need stuff like this. We need podcasts like this. We want to talk about the movies. And listen, We got 9 coming out. We got 10. The spin-offs. This is going to keep going forever, okay? You guys are going to be able
Oh
to
my
talk
God.
about it to your grandkids.
I want
Your
them to come
grandkids
back.
are going to be watching number 37. Fast and the Furious 37. It could happen. You never know. And then at that point, well, maybe soon, within the next maybe 15 years or so, I can maybe play Jesse's father. So, it's out there in the universe. We never know. Maybe they're going to go into space.
Oh my
You
God.
never know.
Oh my God.
Joey, Joe 2, I want to thank you guys for doing what you're doing. I'm going to go check out your podcast. Everybody here
Oh
needs
my
to
God.
do the same. And hopefully one of these days we can link up, okay? Yeah, stay safe. Most importantly, right now, let's get past all this craziness, okay? That's why podcasts are so great, because people can stay home safely and listen. Listen to what makes them happy. Let's talk about the nostalgia. Let's talk about the cars. Let's talk about what makes these movies so wonderful. So, Justin, I want to say thank you for hooking me up here with Joey and Joe too. And yeah, I'm going to go check out your podcast. I want everybody to do the same. Congratulations, all right? 150. Let's do 150 more! All right, guys. All in good fun. I love you. Keep it rolling, okay? All right, boys. Talk to you soon. Cheers.
Oh my God. Okay. Holy shit.
I love that he did it from his car too. Like that's the coolest. That's just the best. It's the absolute greatest.
Oh, dude, it's so awesome. Yeah. Wow.
That was worth saving. That was worth
That was.
waiting for.
We didn't overhype that at all. Holy shit. Wow, that was awesome, Justin. You guys have been great all fucking week, by the way. Just like, thank you so much. But that was so fucking cool.
Oh yeah. Also, I know I don't want to undercut Justin, but I want to compliment Justin with the E. The compliment with an E. Add on to. Because
Yes.
Wes sent us some hand stitched cross stitch.
Oh
That
my God.
it's the
I
Angle
know.
Furious 7. Dom and Brian's Chargers, and it's the
We're gonna
quote.
post pictures of it.
It's amazing. This is great. Yeah, thank you guys. This is
You guys
just
are awesome, man.
the
Yeah.
coolest, the absolute coolest. I mean, now it's just Chad Lind, like we're in with Chad. He knows it at us. It's just like, hey, bud, like come on our show. Of course, the first movie's the best. You're the one with you.
Exactly. There is now a world where Jesse knows who we are.
Perfect, just absolutely perfect. So thank you, Justin. That's amazing. I wouldn't even, like I know the cameo's a thing, but I don't think about it as like a place to like look for these people. So like it's awesome that you had that idea that
It's awesome.
whatever you pay. I don't even want to look because I mean, Jesse could be like $5 or 500. Like I don't know what he charges, but like whatever you paid, you got more than your money's worth. Because that was amazing. That was super cool.
It was so cool. And it was like a long ass video too.
Yeah. Have I told on here that we got Jose Canseco for our fantasy baseball draft last year?
Yes, you did. We did.
Which
We
was
talked about this.
also great, but like he's like stumbling over words and like because you only have like 200 characters or something. Like, you have to explain like what you want to say. We're like, how many jokes? Like how many ways can we explain how to make fun of people in our league? In like almost like 3 sentences, right? Like
Yes,
it's
yeah.
no space. And so I don't know what Justin said to Chad, but like to I'll just call him Jesse, but like perfect. It was all absolutely perfect. So thank you, Justin. Thank you, Chad Lindbergh. Like just the coolest, the absolute coolest.
The coolest shit ever, man. Wow, you made my morning. Holy shit, that was awesome. I'm gonna go
Super
flex
cool.
on all my friends now and show them this videos and give you credit for it, but I'm definitely gonna be like,
Amazing.
look at this shit right here.
I love that you sent it in way in advance, that it just burning a hole in our pocket. Basically, like I didn't click on it. I didn't know
No,
what it was.
you didn't.
All I saw was the cameo little like icon or whatever in the corner. I saw like what looked like Jesse from the thing. Like when I sent it to you, like so I had like a 2.5 second like head start on you. But yeah, man, just awesome, just absolutely the coolest.
So cool. Thank you again, brother. Wow, I can't stop giggling. That was great. I appreciate it.
Anyway, if you want to email in or send us more cameos, family@cageclub.me. The best. Thank you all so very much.
Yeah,
And
holy
yeah,
shit.
here's to another 150 more, and then Fast and Furious 37. You heard it here. Our
In
grandkids going to be
space.
talking about Fast and Furious 37 in space.
Yeah.
Joe, on the streets, news about the Fast and Furious. There's big news in the world of movies, but is there any Fast and Furious specific news that you have seen?
No, not Fast and Furious specific news that I think is newsworthy.
The other news, which I posted on our Facebook and our Twitter after you sent it to me, was Warner Brothers announced that their entire 2021 slate will go not only to theaters, but also to HBO Max on day of release for 31 days. That means The Matrix 4. That means Dune. That means every major movie that Warner Brothers is putting out next year is going to be available to watch for free as long as you have an HBO Max subscription for the first month that it's out, which is enormous. Like, that is the coolest thing in the world.
Insane.
There's apparently a $15 billion bailout to movie theaters that is being talked about right now in Congress. Who knows if that's going to happen or not? My big call to action is Universal, get in line, put it on Peacock, put F9 on
Yeah.
Peacock.
Do it. That's what we want. Well, I feel like it's gonna hit VOD quick, but like we want it like, as soon as possible. Come on, man. Like, just give it to us.
Give it to us, please, please, please.
Please, yeah.
Warner has HBO Max. Disney has Disney Plus, obviously, Marvel, Disney, Fox, all that, right? There is Universal, which has Peacock. I don't know what Sony would do. Crackle, I guess, but Crackle, like, nobody gives a shit about Crackle.
We said, would you say Hulu? Who has Hulu?
Disney has Hulu.
Ah, that's right.
There's also rumors that Disney Plus and Hulu could merge. I don't think it's going to happen, but there's talk about that they could merge.
Yeah, because if Disney owns both, then yeah, why not, right?
It does feel like a little bit of separation of church and state. Like, one is for kids and one is for adults and stuff, but
I know a lot of adults that would argue that.
Content
Yes.
design specifically, like, aside from the Mandalorian, the upcoming Marvel MCU series, like, it's kind of like, this is, Disney and Pixar stuff. One series, quote unquote, for adults. And then everything else, like, the Kate Mara, a teacher series where she's like fucking one of her high school students is never going to be on Disney Plus.
No.
But, like, in this future, like, they could be, I don't know, so.
There should be like two, like, it should be like the Netflix login pages, but then like one, like if you have like a kid's account, it just takes you straight to Disney Plus, and Hulu's like the other one, like an adult's one goes to Hulu with Disney Plus content.
Yeah, there's not that many major studios that, like, would have to figure out a place. Like, they all kind of have their own vertical now. So, like,
yeah.
HBO Max suddenly a must own because everything, huge movies.
It's slated to get some big shit. So that's why it's so cool.
That's the only news really that's fit to print, I think. So, Joe, the last thing to do before we take a break and talk about Paris, Texas, is the Fast and Furious Minute. The deleted scene called Trading Driving Stories.
Which is super appropriate for today with Jesse sending us the cameo.
He was not shirtless in that video, though. But
he was not shirtless in this video, no.
Trading Driving Stories.
I was like 5 years old while I'm sitting on my father's lap. And it's got me propped up and both my hands are on the steering wheel. And it kept going faster and faster. I remember hearing him laughing. Faster we went, the happier he was.
How old were you again?
5.
My mom taught me how to drive.
Your mom?
Yeah, man. I was right before she left, though. Hate her for that, but I can't hate her completely,
First time I drove was with my learner's permit. And we were on the 40 freeway as my mother and I. The car in front of me locks up its brakes. And then, boom! Someone blew into me from behind. 5-car pileup. First time I drove.
Before my dad went away, bought me this 71 Malibu Classic. First day I got my license. It's the greatest day. It's also the first day that I had sex. I shit you not.
Something about learning how to drive. Well, you're a driver or you're not a driver. So up until the point you start driving is one lifetime, and then after you start driving is another lifetime.
So in this minute 20, Dom, Bryant, Jesse, and Leon sit on a car shirtless and swap stories about the first time they drove. We talked about these in great detail earlier this lap, but I wonder if I would assume that at least for, some of our, if not a good portion of our listeners, this is the first time they're ever hearing this. Like, it kind of feels like this could be breaking new ground for people who, like, did not go watch these scenes, even though we're like,
yes,
hey, you should watch these scenes. But there's crazy stuff in this.
And this is what we wanted to. We talked about it when we did the deleted scenes, but like, this is one of my favorites because it's more background character stuff. So although we don't get like a lot of like new viewing things, right? Because it's really only one scene. They kind of steal all of the car parts on the table scene from minute 40. We do get like a whole new set of character development.
Is the car they're sitting on, is that the car that Brian dropped off, or is it another car altogether?
It looks like they started stripping down the Supra that Brian brought in for them.
And that's the car that they're on?
Yes. That's what it looks like. In the movie, just because this is like a little bit more blurry, in the movie it looks way more like primered, and this kind of looks white. But I think it's just the lighting and the low resolution of the scene. I think it's also like a light gray. You know what I mean? Like primer.
Okay. The big notable thing which we talked about, I think, a lot earlier this lap is where's Vince? Either maybe just not being with Brian or maybe with his sick mom, right?
Yeah, with his sick mom, which we'll talk about later.
Quickly, the backstory. Rob Cohen said that this scene was cut. Like he seems like I wrote down like why he cut all these scenes. Like and some he's just like we didn't need this scene. Like the last one we talked about with Jesse. Like he's just like yeah we just didn't like we get it in the next scene right. But this one it seems
Yes.
like he loved. He wish he could kept in. He wish he could keep it in the movie. Stop. He says it stopped the movie cold. Like this is a long scene. This is like 80 seconds. And even if you take out the scenes, the issue is that like all the car parts that you made a note of for like for minute 40, it's over dialogue. So even if those aren't there, we're still like looking at Dana, we're still looking
Oh,
at
you're
Paul Walker or
right.
whatever, right? So like it's not like
You're
you can
right.
make it shorter. It's just, it's
I didn't
long.
connect that in my brain. I thought that this is like a minute and 20 scene, but it's really like a minute because all the car parts. But you're right. The dialogue runs over it, so it doesn't really matter or change it.
I don't think this is ever the kind of scene that you could put in a movie like this. Like, I don't know how if you had like if this was in like a novel form, you could have like little snippets of these kind of between chapters, right? Like you could be like Jesse's story, and it's like it's like 15 seconds, but like it's just a couple lines or whatever, right? Like oh,
Yeah,
well, here's but like in a movie, conscious about the pacing and the flow and everything, like I don't know how you do this, but man, I wish it was in there because it's great.
I agree. I don't know where you'd put it. Like, because it has to be at this point, right? Because like you establish things with the shot, like where the car is and like what's going on. So like you know where it is in the movie, and if you drop it in instead of having the montage of them like cranking through the car, making it cool, it would feel so fucking weird.
Yeah. The only little bit of background that your kind of thing that I did here was Brian talks about how the first time he drove, which you just heard, he was on the 40 freeway with his mom. And I was like, where is the 40? Because I'm like, is he, because he's being Brian Spillner, right? Like he's trying to, like, he's a cover, right? So I'm like,
Yeah, he's using his alias.
because I know that the 40 is in LA or like, around LA, but I'm like, I wonder if he's like lying about being in LA or Mr. Arizona or whatever. But the 40 goes from LA all the way to North Carolina. Like it goes coast to coast. Like it's an entire US span. So like he could be anywhere. Like he'd be like, yeah, it's on the 40 freeway. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, but like in Tennessee or what? It's like, I
Yeah,
don't
it
know.
doesn't matter. Yeah.
Is there anything in here that you saw was new?
There's something interesting that you marked in the document that I wanted to talk about too. And it's what the fuck is Brian eating
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
this scene? Because it looks like at first glance, I thought it was like a hamburger, right?
It's sandwich E in general.
And then the way he's holding it, I'm like, because he's only holding it with like one hand because he has a Corona in the other hand. So
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, it could be like a taco, but he takes a bite out of the top of it or like the front of it.
Yeah, a way that people should not eat tacos.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like gringo or not, like you're not going to eat a taco like from the middle down.
Right.
So I don't think it's a taco. At the end, because it's blurry, it's hard to see. I came to the conclusion that maybe it's like some kind of like Cuban sandwich or like a panini or something.
It looks like there's stringy cheese.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because he
yeah.
like takes a bite and it's like one of those kind of things where like almost like the way that caramel kind of like strings, like you take a bite out of like a Twix or whatever, right? And like it kind of goes from your
Yes,
mouth down to
yes.
like it looks like
Mozzarella.
that kind of stringy. Yeah, exactly. I don't know, man, but it kind of grilled cheese, but not like it looks too plump to be grilled cheese, even though like you could have like you could put whatever in a grilled cheese, but like I don't know what it is. And like, again, the resolution's too small to actually know, but like he also looks like he pulls something like, like he's eating like a chicken sandwich or something. There's like a piece of like grizzle or something that he pulls it and like throws on the ground.
I
So
don't know if that was more of his arm motion of like exaggerating the story with hand gestures.
okay, maybe,
Or him
maybe.
throwing something. So like I watched it once and I was like, I think that Joey's wrong. And then I watched it again and I was like, it kind of looks like he does throw something. So I'm in between. I can't really figure it out. It could be either one of those. But yeah, like maybe there's like a pickle on it. He didn't want the pickle. He throws the pickle. But
I mean, if it is a pickle, that's the hallmark of a Cuban sandwich. Which again, beautiful Cuban sandwich, a cubano.
yeah, maybe.
Great Cuban place in my town, and still one of the best Cuban sandwiches I've had was in New Haven with you, right? At that
Yeah,
place that
yeah,
Rachel refuses to eat.
yeah. No, no, no. She would eat there all the
Oh,
time.
she didn't like the Mediterranean place.
Yes, yes, yes. She doesn't like the
Another good
Mediterranean
meal.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Dom is holding a Corona, but the other three guys are all having. I'm sure he has a Corona around. The other three are like clearly at one point or another holding a Corona.
That was there's a car jack in front of in front of in front of Leon, just like sitting like a really high handled car jack that they're not using, like because the car's not jacked up, but they just have like a jack just sitting right next to the car.
Do you
With
think
it.
they were just like, yeah, put some car stuff around?
That's what it really felt like, and it's like right in the foreground in front of Leon. It's interesting, and when you see Leon in the shot, there's like the handle right next to his face. which is
All
like
right.
very bad composition.
Because like Leon's leaning against the car, Jesse's fully on top, and Brian and Dom are both on the hood, kind of like leaning against the windshield, sort of.
Yes, yeah.
Brian more so than Dom, but they're both kind of in the same ish pose.
Yeah,
Like
and
they're
why
sharing a bed together.
yes, yes. Very true.
Anything else? This is the longest we've ever covered in one of these. It's a minute 20. The next, I don't remember the next one is if it's Hector and Brian at Racer's Edge. Like that's coming up soon, but I'm thinking a couple scenes we have Brian. I think the next one is Racer's Edge because then we have Brian and Mia at the beach, which is like 2.5 minutes, which we're just doing
Yeah.
one episode. So buckle up for that because that's gonna be a lot. Maybe a lot, or maybe not a lot to talk about. I don't know. But
It's
any other
weird.
thoughts about trading stories?
There's somehow a lot to talk about and also not a lot to talk about because I can't see anything in the fucking backgrounds of these. So
Right. And I think a lot of what we learned from this is the stuff in the dialogue that you just heard and that we went into great detail on earlier this lap, right? About Leon learning from his mom and Brian kind of learning from his mom and Jesse getting laid the day that he got his license. And
yeah, exactly.
well, let's take a break and let us talk about Paris, Texas as we continue celebrating episode 150 of Too Fast, Too Forever.
You guys are fucking awesome. Thank you. Welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. This is episode number 150, Paris, Texas. This episode is brought to you by Texas Instruments, the TI Inspire CX CAS handheld graphing calculator, now with 100 megabytes of storage memory and 64 megabytes of operating memory. Shout out to Texas Instruments.
Ooh, 64 megabytes. Whew.
Dude, have you seen this fucking... The new... What did you have in school? TI-84?
Sounds about right.
I was a little bit older. They had just come out with the TI-89.
You're a little bit younger, you mean?
A little bit younger, sorry, yeah. And that thing was fucking badass, and it could, like, foil for you. It was essentially cheating on the SATs. It was incredible. The new ones, obviously, are fucking color. Like, you can have, like, JPEGs and shit on this thing.
Yeah, like, I don't, a phone.
I know, but I'm saying, like, you have to buy their bullshit for the SATs, right? And this is, like, SAT allowable. Why don't you just put, like, every picture you want? I'm sure.
Probably. I don't know. But welcome back to the show, episode 150, talking about Paris, Texas from 1984. Joe, this is our third straight Criterion movie.
It is.
A couple of snobs.
Yeah, I feel I watched this movie with my left pinky out the entire time.
Sipping a cup of tea.
A cuppa.
Had you heard of this movie before? I'm assuming you had not seen this before, but you heard of this before or no?
Haven't heard of it. I think I might have heard of Paris, Texas, but no, haven't heard of this movie. And you know what it reminded me of? Prada Marfa.
What is that?
There was like an art exhibit in Marfa, Texas. And
Okay.
somebody put up like a fake Prada store on the side of the road. They put like all of this Chinese knockoff Prada into the store and designed it to look like a Prada store. But it's also like on the side of the road in one of these like Texas villages, right? Like there's nothing there. The art exhibit was that it was a fake Prada store in the middle of nowhere. And people thought that it was real Prada stuff. So they started stealing the stuff inside the store. But it was this whole thing. It was a really cool art exhibit. I like these interesting ideas, weird ideas that I would have when I was not sober, and then somebody does it and you're like, that's a fucking cool art exhibit. So that's what this reminded me of.
Other than the one time that you visited me, or like the weekend you were coming down, I was like, oh no, I am like deathly sick, and we like hung out like for 2 hours one night. Have you been to Texas otherwise or no?
I was just there last year. I was just in Dallas last year for a work conference.
Have you been to like, this isn't what I mean, but like, have you been to like Texas? Like, have you been to like the cities? But, like, have you been to like
No.
middle of nowhere?
No,
like Paris,
no, not like
Texas?
dirt roads,
Okay.
gas stations, like the ones you see in movies. No, nothing like that.
So when I drove cross country in 2012, my friend and I played a game. I left with my friend Lauren, and we went down and we picked up a friend, Tom, in New Orleans. But we played a game leaving New Jersey. Like, could this still be New Jersey? Because so much of the country looks exactly the same, which we did not realize. But like when you're driving on I-81 for like 800 miles all the way through Tennessee and like down through Pennsylvania, whatever, it's all evergreen tree. Like it all looks like it could be just any highway in New Jersey. We're like, this is so boring. you get like an hour north of New Orleans and the road just like falls away and you're literally over the bayou. You're like, oh, this is new. This is cool. Okay. And
Yeah.
then you go a little bit west and it kind of becomes New Jersey again for a while. And then like you hit a point in Texas. It's like, oh, this is different. And like it's the whole like American Southwest, the gorgeous like landscapes and the scenery and everything, but there's
Yeah.
also just like the dirt roads and things.
Yep.
And you're driving, you see like a little like a couple miles away or whatever, like you see like a cyclone, like not like a tornado, but like a, oh, there's just like a dust cyclone that's like blowing like fairly big.
Dirt cloud.
And like you're just out in the middle of nowhere. But when I was in without, you know, I was driving with my friend Tom on this trip and we were in the middle of nowhere, West Texas, and I don't remember the name of the town, but it was like where the rodeo was invented or something.
Okay.
And we're like, we want food. And like there was like one restaurant in town or something, essentially. Like there's a wall, like the town was like one street with
Yep.
like a Walmart
Yep.
and like this monument to rodeo, and they had like a couple restaurants or whatever. And this one restaurant that was like the one that was open had 25 reviews on Yelp. They were all 5 stars. All their menu was tamales, green tamale, red tamale. And we
Okay.
go in there and they're like, we don't have green tamale. It's only red tamales today. We're like, okay, we'll take 12 tamales.
Yes.
And it was like
12
6.
tamales. That sounds like a ton of tamales, dude.
So it's a ton of tamales.
It's a ton of tamales.
It was like $6 for 12 or something. A meal, and this was like a very big, like completely stuffed meal for one of us was 2 tamales. So we got 6 meals out of this, and it was like the
Yeah.
greatest food that I've ever eaten. Oh, there's a reason that everybody loves this place because they have one thing on the menu and they nailed it.
What were they filled with? Were they like beef? Were they like?
This is 8 years ago now. I don't remember. I want to
Did
say
you get a
prob-
mix of them?
No, it was just like it's just
Just
tamale,
red tamale.
tamale. Just the one was the red tamale, right? It just
Okay.
red peppers, red poblano peppers, or whatever's in there in the corn wrapper or whatever, the tortilla. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just unbelievably good, like dense as fuck.
I know. Yeah, I was just laughing. There's like a tradition that's coming up that I didn't know about. Some of the Hispanic communities make tamales for Christmas. That's like a common tradition.
Okay.
So I want to adopt this tradition. And so Rachel was going to make tamales this Christmas. So I thought that's pretty cool. But that's not but she made tamales like earlier in the year or before. 2 of them is like plenty. 2 is enough tamales. So when you said you got 12 of them, I was like,
Oh yeah, no, it was absurd because it was so inexpensive. We're like, oh, I guess we'll just do, I don't know, like 12, because like we were also trying to save money and whatever. We're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is probably a good deal. Who knows? We each had 2, and then like it was because it was like lunch and we had dinner that day, and then like breakfast the next morning essentially was all tamales. So we're like, this is the best we've ever eaten. But like that's what kind of parts of this reminded me of, because like a lot of the road trip
Yes.
of this movie is through like middle of nowhere Texas, and like I
It
just
felt very
loved
blue
that.
lane, 2-lane blacktop to me.
I mean, it is a road movie. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
it's slightly different, but it's the same kind of like nowhere really to be, even though they kind of have somewhere to be, but like not really have somewhere to be. Like it's all just sort of Americana.
Yeah.
So this is widely considered to be one of the greatest movies ever been made.
Really?
It's the 51st highest ranked movie on Letterboxd in
Jesus
terms
Christ.
of rating. Directed by Wim Wenders, who is a European director. He did another movie. Another movie that I know that he did was his movie Wings of Desire, which is notable only, to me at least, only because they remade that movie into City of Angels with Nicolas Cage.
Okay.
So this movie from 1987, which is about like angels doing their thing or something, becomes a movie in 2000 I think, 2001, 99? A little rusty on my Cage
I
history.
can't help. Yeah.
With Cage and Meg Ryan and City of Angels and just him sitting on things. It's whatever. But this guy did the original European version of that. Written by Sam Shepard, who is an American playwright and just kind of like a character actor. You would know him as Gosling's dad in The Notebook.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So
cool.
he wrote this, or he wrote at least most of this, because this went into production without having a finished script. But he's like, I have an idea how you can end it, whatever. It won the Palme d'Or at Cannes, which is like the best film.
Yeah.
Only was nominated for 1 Golden Globe for Best Foreign Film, did not win, and no Oscars.
I kept wondering when we turned it on, I was like, is this a foreign film? But then it said like, introducing whatever and stuff like that. But like for the first, like the intro credits, Rachel and I couldn't tell if this was going to be in English or not.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a European director. He's got the European aesthetic, but it is about America and Americana and the Southwest, which is, again, like, the best movie, and best is maybe the wrong word, but the best movie about slavery is made by a British man, right? Like 12 Years
Yeah.
a Slave was made by Steve McQueen, a British man. So
Yeah.
sometimes you need a little bit of remove to tell a great story. So Harry Dean Stanton stars in this. He passed away a couple years ago, but he acted in 206 things.
Wow,
Best
that's a
known
ton.
for Alien and Repo Man, probably, but he's been in a whole shitload of things. And like most of the people in this movie would go on to work with David Lynch in at least one movie. And I know that even if you haven't seen all David Lynch's movies, you know of them at least. And like all these people kind of became part of his world. And I can't find anything about him loving this movie, but I'm sure he does because like he hired all these people to be in movies in the
Yes.
next couple of years.
Yeah, exactly.
What I did find is that Kurt Cobain and Elliott Smith both said this is their favorite movie of all time.
Really?
Yep. David Robert Mitchell, who directed It Follows, said that he was inspired as a filmmaker by this movie. Wes Anderson said that Wenders' home scene, this movie and Wim Wenders in general, inspired him, especially for the Royal Tenenbaums. The band U2 said this was an inspiration for their album, The Joshua Tree. So this is a very
Wow.
influential movie in terms of like artsy and just, creatives and all things, right? Like in movies and TV and acting and music. And
Yeah, that's crazy. Did you love this movie?
I did. Did you?
I mean, I
It's
didn't
very
hate
long and it's very slow.
It's very long. It's very slow. It's beautiful. I didn't love it. Like, not that it's bad. I could see why people would like it, but it didn't like hit me. I wouldn't recommend this to anyone to like watch immediately. Like, how did we miss this? It was a good movie, but it was a movie.
There's a scene in this movie that I messaged my friend Bob, and I was like, "Holy shit, this scene!" He's like, "I know, right?" And then there's like another version of that scene. And I was like, "Oh wait, no, fuck! Like that. This is so like the movie ends. So the movie is about this guy Harry Dean Stanton plays this guy Travis, who just
Yes.
this has been on my list to watch for a while. I bought the Criterion Blu-ray. I looked it up in my email 7 years ago. I had never opened it. I had
Wow.
been meaning to watch it for forever, just never got to it. It came up on memory loss, and like the first line in the description is like a man walks through the desert not knowing who he is, which is like kind of true, but also like metaphorical. Like
It's
not
way
exactly.
more metaphorical. Yeah.
Although I do feel like this lap as it goes on is less about the Letty memory loss and more about Han. Like I can see this as kind of like I was thinking about Han, like the way that he's going to be reincorporated into a family, whether or not he's going to be willing to answer questions and be like, hey, we just kind of have to like, he's got to be on his own time, man. Like kind of like that sort of angle.
Interesting. Okay. Okay.
His brother and sister-in-law in Los Angeles have essentially adopted Travis's son, Harry Dean Stanton's son, who is this
Yes.
8-year-old. 4 years ago, the guy he left, he just walked out because we later find out that his wife or girlfriend or whatever left as well. And so, he just didn't know, like they all kind of like didn't know who they were. They all go off and they
Yeah.
find him. They get a call that says, he's in Texas.
Mexico. Or did he walk to Mexico and he got found in Texas?
I think he gets found in Texas. He's walking all over the place. Like he
Okay.
tells a story, but he's somewhere in that area.
Yeah. Yeah.
The brother flies down there and runs the car. Eventually, they drive back, and it's just a matter of like him kind of reincorporating into the family, and whether or not he's going to be a dad to the son. Hearing from the sister-in-law that she knows that the mom sends their kid money every month,
Yes.
different amounts every month, but they send from a bank in Houston. So the two of them, father son, drive to Houston to find the mom. And that's the movie. And it's 2.5 hours long. And eventually in the end, they find the mom. The reason I bring that all up now, aside from just the plot dump up top, the peep show scene, he goes to this, he follows who he thinks, he doesn't know for sure, he follows who he thinks is the mom
Yes.
to this peep show house. And he goes in and after a false start, he finds her in one of those rooms where like she sees a mirror, but he can see her. And I guess not like, it's like a live sex show, but like it's not like a strip club where you touch whatever. It's just like behind.
Peep show. Yeah.
I'm like, this scene is incredible because like he's just like she's just talking. He's like he doesn't know what to say or whatever. I'm like, this is so good. Then he goes back and just tells like a 10-minute monologue essentially where we don't see him talking. And he's just describing, he's telling their story to her.
Yes.
And you're just on her face and she's like beginning to sob as she realizes who that is. And I was like, this is like one of the greatest things I've ever seen in any movie ever. And I know that like if you're, it's 2 hours and 15 minutes into the movie by that point, and if you're like bored or whatever, it might not hit you, but like, God damn it, like that was so good. And not at all Fast and Furious, but like so goddamn good.
It was good. Yeah, but it's a slow burn. This is way more of like a distraught romance. How you handle a relationship that has been broken is not really my usual watches, right? Like that's not something that's like really in my wheelhouse. The scene is excellent, and the way it plays out and the delivery and her reaction, you do feel an emotional draw there, even for me who wasn't very into the movie. I do think that there's emotion there. Yeah, it didn't hit me as hard as apparently it hit you.
I rarely cry from like sad stuff. I usually cry from
Yes.
like happy stuff. And like this
Yeah.
it's not in my crying wheelhouse generally, but like, I just thought it was
It's
amazingly
great.
well acted and shot and
Yes,
beautifully written,
yes.
and just the way it's delivered, and like give
Yep.
this guy like Harry Dean Stanton acted in 200 Things, never nominated for an Oscar. This movie got no Oscar nominations. Like not only did not win an Oscar, just never like
How not? This feels Oscar baity to me for sure.
Oscar Beatty is a negative thing. Like they're not doing this to like
I'm not using it as a negative. It feels like a movie that would be nominated for Oscars, is what I mean
yeah.
directly.
I mean, it won the best film at Cannes, right? Like it was
Exactly.
critically
Yeah.
acclaimed. It just didn't get make waves here. I don't know. Like it didn't. I was reading the like reception and like we talked about last episode with Seconds, like a movie that flopped at the box office, but then eventually became a cult classic. Like from the jump, like Roger Ebert gave it 4 stars. Like people love this movie. It just didn't. I guess the Oscars didn't.
What year was this?
84.
Can we look up the other nominees for 84? Like what was running in 84? Like or was it just like a stacked year that this didn't get picked up or what? Like
So let's see here. The 57th Academy Awards, which aired in 85. Best Picture was Amadeus.
okay.
Also nominated The Killing Fields, A Passage to India, Pieces in the Heart, and A Soldier's Story. So I've never
Doesn't
seen
sound
any
like
of those.
Yeah, it
I know
doesn't sound
Amadeus.
Yeah, same, but like it doesn't sound like anything that's like, sometimes we hit some of these Oscar years and you're like, "Oh yeah, like every one of these movies is like super classic."
I'm just looking at what their ratings are on Letterboxd and like how. Oh, A Soldier's Story. Wait, I know this one. Why do I know this one? 3.5 out of 5. Places in the Heart 3.4 out of 5.
Okay.
Passage to India, 3.5 out of 5. Killing Fields, 3.8, pretty good. Amadeus, 4.2. Like, Amadeus is, like, clearly, like, in film history, I haven't seen it, but, like, Amadeus is one of those ones that, like, is one of the great films or whatever.
Yes, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
the other ones just seem like, yeah, okay.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like sometimes you're like, "Oh, damn, like what were you guys doing here?"
I don't know. Drop the ball. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And it's Palme d'Or, like Con comes out before.
Yeah, like, this debuts there, essentially, right? This debuts on the festival circuit, and then it comes to America, and then, like, that fall, it's nominated for
Yes.
awards. Yeah.
So it's not like anybody didn't see it. It's not like you're like, "Oh, shit, we missed this one."
No, yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Same.
But you were saying that there's not a lot of Fast. I think thematically there's a lot of things that connect us to the Fastiverse. But before we get into the Fast connections, what did you think overall? I know it's not really your cup of tea, but like moments that you loved, moments that you didn't like, themes, overall, just initial impressions on this movie.
Cinematography wise, it was fucking gorgeous. And like it starts out with all these shots of him walking when he does like the first kind of like escape from his brother, like and just starts walking again.
Wearing a
Like
MAGA hat.
yeah, I have a note that just said red hats hit way differently now
Yep.
than they do then, right? Like
Not a MAGA hat, but just yeah, he's wearing a red hat in the movie, which you can't, he wouldn't be wearing a red hat today. But yes, please go on.
yeah.
Or maybe he would. I don't know. Different movie
Maybe
though.
very different movie. He's like walking, and just the way that they frame everything in this movie is very perfect, like very very perfect for me. The aspects and just like how he's shooting it, that like you get like telephone poles and you have like the nice diagonal as they go into the distance, focal points and stuff like that, and just like the way things are intersecting. Like every single shot that he picks has like a great angle of stuff, like how I want to see things. Like you get like a building like right at the corner and you see like the side profile and like the front back far enough that you get the top of it and the bottom of it, and I'm just like, this is very aesthetically pleasing to me.
So this was shot very quickly. This was shot by a guy named Robbie Mueller, who did Repo Man, which I just mentioned before, that with Harry Dean Stanton in it. He also did a movie called Dancer in the Dark, which is a Lars von Trier movie. But of note to us, he shot To Live and Die in L.A.
Makes sense, right? Another fucking gorgeous movie. Like, and the color saturation and stuff like that was just like, wow. Like, I watched the Criterion Collection version too, and it's like, what, like in 4K remaster, whatever.
Yep.
And it's fucking gorgeous. Like, it is. It absolutely is. The slow burn is interesting. Rachel was not enthused. Like when we were watching it, she was like,
I can't think of a movie that she would like less than this. I don't think almost.
right. Like there's just like nothing. She was like, that was a movie. And I was like, oh yeah, yeah. It was weird. There was definitely some like emotional fascinations I felt when I was watching it though. So that was interesting. Like more so than I thought, but also not as many as I thought for like a movie that's essentially a road movie.
Are you glad that you watched it, or are you just overall like it doesn't matter?
No, I'm glad that I watched it. This is
Okay.
this feels. Sometimes when we watch Criterion Collection movies, I'm like, this was fucking useless. This felt like a movie that has a place, right? Like I can see why people love it. It didn't work for me, so I'm like, I watched that once. I'm glad that I can say that I watched that. It's a good movie. I don't need to revisit it, but I'm glad that I've like now have that in my portfolio of movies I've seen.
What I'm about to say is like a weird kind of couched between a couple different things. Like knowing that I am kind of a film snob, but I also actually hate real film snobs, and like
Yes.
I appreciate Criterion Collection, but a lot of them just like I don't like it. I see your top 10 best films list. I'm not going to watch that. Like, I just whatever.
Yep,
But
yep.
like for as slow and as kind of plotless as a lot of this is, I think it's a very approachable movie. Like, there's a lot in the
You're
Criterion
right.
Collection that is just like I think the last three that we watched are all very approachable, but there's other ones that are just like very slow and in black and white or in a different language. Like the fact that
And
this is like
they're highlighting it for a reason that's not they're highlighting it for what it means to film at the time,
yeah,
not because it's a good movie.
I share a Criterion Channel subscription for a couple friends. My one friend was like, "Oh, I just found out about this thing." I'm like, "Oh, just we'll give you a login or whatever, right?" So he's on board now too, and he's like, I feel like you could put on any of these movies and just enjoy it." And I was like, "That's probably not true." He's like, "Well,
Not for
at
me.
least appreciate it." And I was like, "Okay, that's a better word for it," because like there's a lot of these that are just like brutally slow and just like exquisitely well made that are just like not enjoyable. But I feel like even if you're not on board with the pacing or the plotting or whatever, the fact that it's in English is a big thing, right?
Big, huge, huge. Yeah.
Like if this movie was in French, you'd be like, "Ah, fuck, what? No, stop
Yes,
it."
I would have bailed. Like, yeah.
And the fact that it's so beautiful to look at, like if this was again like in black and white, like if it's Hitchcock black and white, maybe, but like if it's Seconds black and white, like that was shot in a good way, but like I don't think that the lighting really, like the Hitchcock lighting was, well, whatever.
Yes.
But like
Yeah.
there's a lot about this movie that even if you hate it, you're like, oh, I'm interested to see where this is going because like there's pathways in, like it looks like a modern movie. It's in English. There's
Yep.
actors that I kind of know. Like it's just as Criterion and sort of snobby as it can be at times. It's also like, oh no, this is actually like it's doable.
It feels like an Oscar movie. Like this was a movie that would be in Oscar talks, which I think sometimes differs from movies that are in Criterion Collection. I always try to watch all the Oscar movies. I know that you have different takes on Oscars, but like I try to watch them because they're like people that watch a lot of movies. As shitty as the people that pick these are, like there's usually reasons why they pick these movies, right? This felt like it had those reasons. Like it's beautiful, the director's great, the acting is great, there's great scenes in it. Like those are the kind of things like I like to hang on to when I'm seeing these. But you're right, I've seen a lot of Criterion Collection movies and I'm like, what the fuck did I just do with that
Well, I
time?
think like comparing the two, I think that both the Oscars and the Criterion Collection both like select things that are supposedly like culturally relevant to the
Yes.
time. Oh, Green Book might not be the best movie, but like it's the one that means the most to our society right now. Even though like it's not, but like
Yes.
it's what
Yes.
people perceive it to be, right? And
Yep.
so it's the I think that they're both of that kind where they want to preserve like a slice in history. Like we're talking about, like these 1985 movies didn't hold up in terms of like Amadeus is huge or whatever. The other ones like have been seen by 3,000 people, which they might be great movies, but they don't have the resonance, at least, in terms of what this, because this movie means a lot to a lot of people. But yeah, I think like overall, in terms of like bringing it back to what we're talking about here, I think there's a lot of like found family here. Like I was thinking about from points of view of like it's themes about the Fast and Furious, but in a way that we would never see the story. Like, can you imagine a Fast and Furious movie where Letty is effectively like, I don't know if I'm ready to be a mom.
Yeah.
I wasn't a mom and now I'm just mother to a child who's not mine.
Yeah.
And like maybe she would love it, but there also might be like existential crisis. And I'm just thinking like that's not at all in
No.
any way
What
what
I
a
want to
Fast and
see.
Furious movie would ever be, but like it could be.
When we had the whole hinge of this movie being about the child and him coming back for it and somebody else raising it, this could have easily been a Dom, Letty, Elena
Yeah.
situation, right? Like, Mia taking care of the kid being like, Dom, you left. Like, we had him for a while now. Like, this is Brian and mine's kid. And he's like, but like, Dom's his dad. Yeah, like, I definitely saw a lot of weird parallels to that in ways that I was like, oh god, that would be like the worst Fast and the Furious movie for me ever. Like a really like dark Fast and the Furious take, like an emotionally tolling one, not in the sense of like we know Paul Walker is actually dead in real life, but like seeing like Letty like struggle with like her being a mom, like you said.
But like I would love that. Like I don't think
No, no.
it would not make money, but like that would be because like what we like about the movies, like what we dig into is the backstory and the character development. Like give us like an existent like a Letty on the verge of I don't know if I can handle this, Dom.
It depends on which way we do this. Okay, so I'm thinking about it in two ways right now. If we did 75% of Fast and the Furious movies, so it was like corny and like somebody got reanimated, cool, I'm in. With like some Letty existential crisis stuff. If we did 75% Paris, Texas, where it was just like brooding the whole time and slow, I'll be like, oh god, this is a really bad Fast and the Furious movie. Depends on
I
which way
think
we
I think
go.
it would need to be like a spin-off, like Solo, a Star Wars story. It'd have to be like Letty, a Fast and Furious story, and it's just like all black and white, and it's her just
Oh God.
moody and like rain and like in French because she's smoking a cigarette. Like
Yeah.
I just don't know if I don't know if I can be mother to this child, Dominic.
Yeah. Like one of those times where like this really if you would extend out Los Bandoleros, you might actually wind up with something like this, right?
It does feel like, yeah, it does feel like that this would be the kind of movie that Vin Diesel would want to make. Like he wants to get weird and not weird, but like he wants to get deep and like emotional with the characters, right?
I think that yeah, if we had more of the like Letty getting to Dom and Los Bandoleros, it would look a lot like this movie, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was part of my brains that I never connected. Oh God.
Thematically as well, we're talking about like the significance of Paris, Texas. Like I don't know that they ever really wind up in Paris, Texas, but like in Paris, Texas, the main guy Travis has bought a plot of land because his dad told him that like that's where like he and his mother met and fell in love and made love for the first time. And so it's
Yes.
like, oh, so there's a very familial connection there. And
And he thinks he was conceived there.
yes, also appropriate to Dominic Toretto's father, Travis's dad died in a car crash.
Oh, I didn't catch that one.
Yeah, man.
No, I got some other car things, but I totally missed that his dad died in a car crash.
Yeah, when he and his son are like looking through the photo album, and he's just
He
like,
said he
"Who's
died
this? Who's this? What's
recently,
this?"
like a couple years before that picture. I heard that part.
Picture was taken a couple years before, yeah, before he died. But he's like, "Yeah, he died in that car."
Oh, okay. Okay.
I don't think he was racing. Like, I don't think it was on a racetrack. In this movie, Travis is terrified to fly, and maybe that's part of it. But like, you would think that like if his dad died in a car crash, he might be terrified to drive. And seems maybe that's why he walked. But he feels okay in a car, right?
No,
So
he's
I don't
fine
know.
in a car. He's fine in a car.
But I was really surprised because like there's also a part in this movie where like essentially like let's bring the memories back to him. Like let's show him the home videos of like him and his wife and whatever. And like
Race the memories.
I am so surprised we haven't seen Toretto home movies.
Oh,
Like a scene like this, like Dom's like, Brian, let me show you something. That it feels like so easily in the wheelhouse of both the characters and the world and the movies. Like,
yeah.
how have we not seen that?
Yeah, we get like a picture of Dom's dad that's like in the garage, and we get the
Well,
like
what we
this would have been
assume is his dad, right?
I think he points to it and is like, "That's my dad up there." I think so. I don't remember. This would have been a great thing for them to have been like watching instead of the Rob Cohen movie when they're like, put a dress on, make your own damn popcorn. Like they would have been watching like old race videos.
Yeah.
His dad racing and like Mia and Dom like home videos intertwined. You know what I mean?
Just some like bald little 12-year-old.
Yeah, I imagine Dom being bald as a child. I do.
Came out of the womb bald, stayed bald.
Exactly. It's aerodynamic.
Also, this movie is a story about brothers. So we have Dom and Jacob now, and like like they're talking about like maybe he died in a car crash. Like they're talking about car crashes too, and just thematically tying in there. But I feel like there's a lot here that is like not about cars, but about cars.
No, there is, and even so, one of the things, like one of the car, because they spend so much time in a car. Like one of the car things that I really liked that reminded me of a Fast and the Furious line when he's like, "Okay, I can drive now." Like, well, do you remember? He's like, "My body remembers," and I was
Yeah.
like, that sounds like such a Dom Toretto line, right?
Yeah.
Like, if they're like, "Dom, like you just got wrecked," he's like, "I don't remember who I am," and he's like, "Do you know how to drive? My body remembers."
A very funny line. Like that's funny because of what you're reading into. It's not supposed to be funny in the movie. but
No,
there's
it's
a
not
movie
funny in the movie.
There's a line at the end of that road trip that is funny where they get back and he's asking his brothers like, "Hey, so what do you do?" He's like, "Oh, I'm in advertising. I like help billboards." He's like, "Oh, you're the one who does billboards. I like those." He's like, "I don't do every billboard." I liked them actually seeing them put the billboard up. I thought it was pretty cool because I didn't really see that. But it was just
Yes.
very funny to be like, "Oh, you're the billboard guy." It's like, well, how do you think the world works? Like, there's not one billboard guy.
Exactly. And I also like when you first see him, like when they find out his brother is there, you're at the like billboard shop, right? Like where he's like making them, and there's just like a giant picture of Babs, like Barbara Streisand by like, 20 by 20, just like right in front of him. And I'm like, that's so interesting for this movie. Like to start out like that, like just to have her just huge portrait in the middle of it. Like, but yeah, the billboard thing was pretty good.
Also, we wind up in Los Angeles, which is very on brand for us as well.
Oh, we go to his house. His house is kind of on a hill. Did this not feel like the road that Brian races around and drives down that leads to Toretto's Market and Cafe? When Brian's chasing the guys on the motorcycles, when he's chasing Johnny Train in Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah, I guess kind of. I was thinking when you were saying Brian racing around, I was thinking at the beginning of what would that be, 6? where we think that they're racing Dom versus Brian, but they're actually just racing to the hospital. There's like the windy road there.
No, no, no. This is way more like the street that he's driving the Supra.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I mean, I know that you were like living in Google Maps for an hour at a time or whatever the
Yeah.
last few times. So like, I think you're more familiar. But yeah, I can see that. I can buy that.
The house is kind of felt familiar, and like where it is in the area and stuff. I was like, oh, this is very relatable because he comes up, makes the turn. There's all those houses right there. It's on a big hill. They go down the hill. I was like, this seems like this could be that place.
There is one thing, pivoting for a moment. There's one thing that I think it was not meant to be progressive. I don't think, but I think in retrospect could be seen that way. But like, there's a weird, not weird is the wrong word, but like an unusual type of family where it's like effectively stepmom and stepdad, like adopted mom and adopted dad, that the kid thinks like he's been raised like this is your
Yes.
actual mom and dad. There's his actual dad who like he breaks the brother. Travis's brother breaks the news to the kid, like, "Hey, we're getting your actual dad. Like, what do you remember?" He's like, "I think he was skinny. I don't know." 'Cause
No,
he
I
was
don't think they
four
were
when he
like
died.
hiding it from him though. It's like they like always told him like you have a dad and it's this other guy.
Well, because they're arguing at 2 o'clock in the morning that one night, and they're talking about like how are we supposed to break it to the kid. Like, I think they're kind of telling him maybe half truths, but I think he's just like, "Hey, like this is my mom and dad." But then anyway, he eventually calls
Yes,
Travis
very cool.
dad. He's like, "Good night, dad. Good night, dad." And then at school the next day, he's talking to his friend, and his friend's like, "How do you have two fathers?" And I was like, "Oh, this is interesting." He's just like, "Just lucky, I guess," which I thought was a very cool, like, "Ew, you have two dads." It's like, no, like two dads is awesome, right? So like,
Yeah. No, this is the thing that like kids don't notice. Kids are so tolerant and accepting, right? So
yeah,
like
you have to be taught to hate, right?
yeah, you have to be taught to hate. So if you were like, "Dude, you have two dads?"
You
He's
have a
like, "Yeah,
mom
I'm just
and two dads?
yeah, yeah." And he's like, "Yeah, just lucky, man. I got two sets of parents." And you're like, "Yep, that's pretty cool." Like you don't read into it, right? I did like this a lot. And that was actually one of my favorite scenes too. That the kids are just like, "Okay, cool. Bye. See you later. Have fun with your two dads." Like cuz that's how it plays out in real life. Like the kids aren't going to be fucking weird about it without like
Yeah.
their parents being like, "Oh, he has two dads. This is weird."
Yeah, maybe that kid goes home and tells his parents like, "Oh yeah, my friend's got two dads." They're like, "What? Don't talk to that kid." I mean, we don't
Yeah.
see that, but
Yes.
whatever.
We leave that part of the movie out for sure.
But then the next day he like goes back to school because like them walking home like on opposite sides of the streets and like walking forwards
Very
and backwards
cute.
and crushing like just amazing.
Very
But
cute.
then the next day he goes back to school and like picks the kid up like just in the middle of the day. It's just like, "Hey, come over here," and they like go under a bridge and like eat. What were those white blocks? Do you know what those white blocks were?
Yes. I wanted to know what they were. Rachel looked it up. It's the laughing cow cheese.
Oh, okay, okay.
So they're like Baby Bell like cheese things, like the wrapped ones that you get
So
in
they're
the
eating
store
that and French fries.
in McDonald's. It's half McDonald's, half his lunch from school.
Gotcha. Okay. So they're like eating that, and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go to. I know where your mom is. I'm gonna go get your mom."
He actually talks to him very much like an adult. It's really weird. He's like, "Hey, I need to go see your mom." And he's like, "Well, I want to come with you." And he's like, "Well, bud, like you have this family here, so like I don't know when we're going to come back, so like you could stay here, like it's fine. I just have to go see your mom." And he's like, "No, I'll come with you." And I was like, "That's a really cool thing for me. I like when people talk to kids like adults, but not even in movie form. Like those two felt like they were just having a conversation, right?"
And what's difficult is that like the kid in this movie is like incredibly smart, and he never comes off annoying. I'm like, I don't know
No.
how you wrote it like that and how the kid delivered it, especially since like that kid never acted before. He was the son of the guy, not the playwright Sam Shepard, but the guy I think who like finished the screenplay because like Sam Shepard went off to write something else. So like this other guy came in to like help write it. So like his son is this kid, and like his mom was on set like helping him memorize the lines. Like this kid's not an actor, and he nails like precocious kid
Yep.
in a way that's not cutesy or annoying. It's just like this is just like a cool kid,
Yeah, he's just like a super smart normal kid.
which is amazing.
Very hard to play in film. You're right.
But then like the wildest thing, just like a very 80s thing, I think, is like he's like, "Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go. Like, when do we leave?" And he's like, "We gotta go now. Like, we're gonna go buy supplies. Like, we got like toothbrushes and like sleeping bags or whatever. We're gonna get out of here." And they just start driving to Houston, and they pull off at the side of the road. The next scene or whatever, it's in San Bernardino. It's at night, and like he's like, "I need you to call collect and call your house. I need you to call your mom because if I call, she's gonna get mad at me." So like
Yeah,
he
yeah,
makes the kid call home, and like his parents are just like making dinner and like casually walk over the phone. I'm like, if this was like today, they would be
yep.
freaking out. Police would be there. It would be like a crime scene. Like, where is this kid? But they're just like, "Where are you?" San
Yeah, like he was
Bernardino? Hold on.
abducted.
Talk to your mom.
Yeah, like if you had this now, it's like Amber Alert, like everything, right? Like you're done. Back then, if he could like walk home on his own and like gets rides from his friends without telling anyone, and there's no cell phones, yeah, it's totally normal that he could have like went dicking around with one of his friends and didn't tell them, and like shows up later. He says he called everywhere to look for him.
But, like, yeah, but they're they're literally just, like, drinking a glass of wine and making dinner and, like, I don't know, just very relaxed. I mean, I guess I bet they probably figured at some point that, like, he was with his dad. Like, I guess they think
Exactly.
it's fine, but it's also, like, they're not seemingly worried at all, and then she's like, "Come home right now." He's like, "What should I do?" And Harry Dean Stanton's like, "Just hang up." He's like, "Bye, mom." Just hangs it's very funny, just 0 and, like, they're just like, "Okay." Like, apparently in the script, they were originally all supposed to go, and then the mom was gonna be like, "I gotta go back," and she turned back, and the dad, like, started walking through the desert. Like, it was this weird, like, parallel to the opening of the movie, and then, like, the other 2 are gonna continue on, but, like, this way I think is a lot cleaner. Like, they get dropped, which is kind of
Yes.
a bummer for those actors, but it's also, like, it makes more sense, I guess?
It works, yeah, and you don't have to like include them later on down in the movie, so fine by me, totally cool.
But yeah, like, I was thinking about how I'm like, "This is not gonna end well," and, like, it doesn't end poorly. Like, it's just like, "Oh, yeah, like, I guess be safe," essentially, right? Like, a weird
That's what I was thinking too. Like you have to imagine that like his dad just came back. They're rekindling the relationship. He's like talking again. He's not as weird as normal. Like they know that they're like kind of buddies now. So like if he like took him to like spend an evening of like, taking him mini golfing or something, it's not that weird.
he's just driving, 1,000 miles across the country.
Yeah, the other thing. Yeah.
So there's a couple cars in this movie. There is the Ford Ranchero. It's a 1959 Ford Ranchero, and there's an '84 Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. But my favorite car moment in this movie is that they're staking out the bank where they know that the mom is going to make the deposit, right? And like Harry Dean Stanton's like over like basically in a getaway lane, and the
Yes.
kid is like watching the pneumatic tube, like the drive-through spots,
Yes.
and they have a walkie-talkie or whatever. And the kid sees what he thinks is the mom because he's like looking at the picture or whatever, and he wakes up Harry Dean Stanton who fell asleep. He like runs back over the car, and Harry Dean Stanton's like, what's the car look like? He's like, I don't know, it's red. It's like that's like so the game
Oh.
that we play where it's like, I don't know, it's red. Like I can't. He's like, well, there's two red cars. Like, which of those? He's like, guy, the left one, I guess. Like, it's just very like not like he's right, but it's also like not helpful in the slightest.
Yeah, he's like, I think it was a Chevy. And he's like, okay. He's like, now there's two of them. And he's like, yeah, it's the left one. It's the left one. It's the left one.
He's a little red Chevy, and I was like, "Ooh, is this like a Prince, like little red Corvette?" And then
Ooh.
then there's like the two red cars, and there's like another red car after they split. And I'm like, "This is like the beginning of Baby Driver, where like he just blends in with the other red cars, and like but it all works. Like it's just like I guess
Us,
it
yeah.
was meant to be."
We could have done like the Wells version of this movie, and like the mom just turns and they're like, well, we missed her. And just like the movie ends. It was the right one. He's like, fuck it.
Or he comes back and just like, "Oh yeah, she was next door. She came back. Like she's been here." Like, okay, cool.
Yeah, exactly.
I looked up. Speaking of red cars, I looked up because, like, obviously, like the way the movie looks is beautiful, but also, just the colors themselves just pop, and like there's a lot of reds and whites and blues and
Yes,
greens, and
yes,
like,
yes.
do you have impressions? Because I looked up, and I'm sure you could kind of read in any sort of way, but I guess there's one that's kind of sort of what I was picking up on. But did you notice any themes of like what they could mean or no?
Themes of the colors?
Yeah.
No. When I watch movies like this is like only Goss forgives for me, where like when it's beautiful like that, like I get drawn into the color and the shot and I lose some of the periphery stuff. Like I can't think beyond those. I get stimulated.
So I looked up because I was trying to make sense of it because I was trying to just not think about that kind of stuff and just be into it. But I'm like, they're so boldly like there's drapes and couches are like striking reds and blues and like very clearly chosen for a reason, right?
Yes, I was thinking that too. Whenever he like goes to like the first hotel room, I'm like, this stuff is all set up like way too beautifully for it to just be like we found this place, right? Like
Right.
it doesn't. None of it looks like this was found. It was all like very well chosen.
I watched a video on like color theory in this movie and like the red, white, and blue talking about like the Americana and the American dream and like wanting to have this like perfect family and just all, the brother and the sister-in-law are like in a lot of red, white, and blue, and the kid like at home is wearing red, white, and blue, and just like
Okay.
that's what embodies like the American family, like this happy home or whatever. And the green, which is not a way that I've read green before as a color, but it's about like despair and loss and like
Mm.
him walking through the grass, like he's got the red, like he still wants to find that Americana. Again, this is like kind of film snobbery reading into it,
Mhm.
whatever, but like it makes sense. And like at the end, what I thought was kind of interesting is that like when they all have their happy reunion, the mom and the kid are both wearing green, but he's bathed in green outside. It's like I guess it's all like unclear like where we go from here. Like we don't like I guess if it was red, white, and blue would be like happier ending the movie would have you. But like I was like, I
Mm.
don't it kind of makes sense, but like it also just kind of looks cool.
I was into the colors as looking cool. I didn't read anything into them, so that's interesting to me.
But the one scene in particular where the colors are kind of taken away is that second peep show scene.
Yep.
Like there's no filters. Like it's just like she's in like a black shirt and like there's no like harsh red, white, or blue. It's just like this is just them like opening up like honest to each other, right? So
And
it's
the
like a
light shining on his face, like when she turns the light off, is really, really nice too. I
yeah.
agree.
Any other fast connections or any other notes that you have?
Parking garage roof shot,
Mm-hmm.
which I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, that feels like 1 and 7. And then they have like a part where like a train crosses in front of the car, which I mean we've seen now in a bunch of these classic car movies when we were doing
Yeah.
that lap. So those were my main fast connections.
Harry Dean Stanton did say this is his favorite movie that he was ever in,
Okay,
which is pretty cool. He had been in 100 movies before this, which is crazy. So like
insane.
he died at 91. Like in my entire life, he's always been an old man. He was 58 in this movie, and like this was 36 years. Like it's crazy that like I was like, oh, maybe we'll have young Harry. No, it's not young Harry Dean Stanton. He's still 58 years old. The woman who plays his girlfriend, former girlfriend, Natasha Kinski, was like 25 or something. Like she's very young. Both her characters young, but she's also young too. And so I think he was worried about the age difference. The director like convinced him like, oh no, it's gonna be fine. You're gonna be good, and it turned out good.
I wasn't like this is weird. He seemed older, but not like crazy old, right? Like
And I think it also makes sense like why they don't really work out.
yeah, that could play into it too, for sure. Yeah,
Because even if it's not explicit, like he probably as like a 50-year-old man or so, like might want to settle down somewhat. And she's 25 or 17, 18, he says, right? And like she doesn't
yeah,
want to be like with this old dude who like maybe it was like a fun fling that they, she got knocked up or whatever, but like I can't just be like this is not the life I envisioned, right? So
yeah, yeah. That happens all the time, man, for sure.
I tried it for a while. It didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, the kid forgot. The kid loves space, and he says at one point, "Dad, when are they going to make spaceships like they make cars?" And I was like, "Oh boy, coming
Yeah,
soon."
and he references Star Wars at one point too.
Yeah, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, that's true.
But like he goes to Houston, I think, in part not only because his mom is there, but also because like, oh, that's where the space station is, or like that's where
Yeah,
the
he says that. Yeah, that's right.
the command center is.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
This is the kind of movie that I don't know. I think that some people try to follow along while we talk about these, but other people just listen, whatever. I think this is one of those ones where, like, even if as we spoil what happens, like, it's still one that you could, because again, not plot based, it's character based and theme based and visual, right? So I think you could, even if you listen to this, like, check it out if you have the time and want a slower movie.
It is. It's pretty. It's one that I don't regret watching, but it wasn't like, oh my god, this is like my favorite movie of all time. Like I definitely respect it for sure. Like I put some esteem on this, put some respect on the name of this movie. It's definitely you could watch it though. Like I wouldn't distract anyone from watching. I would never tell anybody not to watch it, right? Like I'd be like no, I hated this, Joey loved it or something like that. I'd be like, yeah, like it's long and slow, but yeah.
Rachel hated it.
No,
My wife
well,
hated it,
that's
but you
never
might watch it.
yeah, exactly. I mean, she is a very different palette. So,
Sure. All right, let's watch the trailer. The trailer from 10 years ago. The
jeez.
Paris, Texas trailer by the Criterion Collection. 1 million views. Paris, Texas trailer 1984, the Criterion Collection.
Oh, and this is the Criterion Collection trailer.
Yep.
Which I don't know. I guess that would mean it's the original, right? Like they wouldn't make a new trailer for it. I don't think.
They could. I don't know that they would.
It doesn't feel like something they would do.
Let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready whenever you are.
All right, 3, 2, 1, play.
Criterion Collection Circle, 20th Century Fox.
When I first saw you this time,
Oh yeah, and like them like leaving because both he and the girlfriend both like did story. Like we don't see hers, but like they tell stories to each other like via tape recorder, right? Because they can't
Oh yeah.
bear to talk to people in person.
I like when he puts the suit on. That's cute too. When he wants to look like a rich dad. That was a cute part of this movie.
I also like the maid or the helping like the helper in this. Like
Yes.
could have been a racist caricature, but like wasn't. Like she was just like genuine, like a well written like let me help you be a cool dad. Like you want to look like a rich dad or a poor dad?
Yep. And you can only be one or the other.
I guess rich dad then.
Him standing outside was so cool.
4 years. Is 4 years a long time?
Is 4 years a long time?
This trailer like visually looks good, but like the actual restored version looks
This
so
looks
much
way
nicer.
much better. I thought that too, dude. I'm with you.
What's out there? I gotta go away now.
Why?
Because I'm gonna find her.
Okay, I see the cheese now in his hand. I get it.
The red hallway, how red this place is,
I
yeah.
want to find her too.
Also, yeah, the kid's sitting in the back of the truck, like on the walkie-talkie. I'm like, that doesn't seem safe, but also, it's the 80s, it's fine.
Yeah.
He's in the vein.
You're right, he's a cute kid, man.
Wild. She was very beautiful, you know? And he loved her more than...
She's just so beautiful, Natasha Kinski. Like, she's, I think, second build, and she doesn't show up for like an hour. And then she's like, not really in it for like the last like 25 minutes.
Yep.
And one of the most acclaimed films of the decade.
Harry Dean Stanton, Nastasia Kinski, Dean Stockwell,
Nastasia
Laura
Kinski,
Clement,
yeah.
and introducing Hunter Carson.
Hunter Carson's the kid, yeah.
Okay.
Is there something? I don't know. Is there something I can do for you?
These weird peep show themed rooms are very strange to me.
What's funny to me, again, funny might, no, actually, if I might be using funny in the right way here. It's the structure that like the Grindhouse trailers ape because they're of the time, but like the complete opposite end of the spectrum in terms of what movie it is, right? It's just like Paris, Texas, just like a very like even line reading of like Thanksgiving. Like, oh, okay, yeah, like, that's just what trailers used to be. Like, I guess we weren't really selling movies back then. I don't know.
I mean, you were, but like there was a structure to it, yeah.
Yep.
Way
Okay.
more so than now.
So we're going to do a special, since this is episode 150, we're going to do a quick and a sort of an abbreviated version of the Letterbox game, which I'll explain why in a second. But we're going to do a car guessing game because episode 150 was originally going to be a Nico Kevo episode. Hector had sent in another dating game, 3 different cars. We're going to do that. I want to commemorate 150, but also I'll explain why more in a second. But, okay. So I was looking, Mad Max Fury Road, the most logged film on Letterboxd has been seen by, or one of the most logged films, has been seen by 675,000 people, right?
Yes.
I was looking because, Paris, Texas, I was saying is the number 51 movie on Letterboxd in terms of average rating, has a 4.33. So, like, very high. The most common rating on Letterboxd this movie is a 5, right? Like, it's just insane. So I was like, I wonder what the number one movie is, and it's Parasite, which is maybe a little recency bias, but also Parasite rules. Parasite has been seen by 785,000 people. So, like, 110,000 more than Mad Max. Like, it came out, 4 years after Mad Max.
Yeah.
So like that is a staggering number.
Yeah.
Also just Parasite just, the Bong High, people love Bong Joon-ho, right? So anyway.
Yeah, of course.
I just saw that number and I was like, holy shit, like not even just a little bit above Mad Max, but like 100,000 plus above Mad Max. But we'll still use Mad Max as our baseline.
Yeah, that's always our ruler.
Paris, Texas, 1984, directed by Wim Wenders, starring Harry Dean Stanton, Natasha Kinski, Dean Stockwell, and introducing Hunter Carson, has been seen by how many people?
Fuck, this is hard. He said it has great ratings. Apparently, people love this movie. Criterion Collection. 85,000 people.
Gotta go higher.
125,000.
Somewhere in between. One more.
107.
103, 307. 103,000 people.
That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot. And this isn't a new movie. That's a lot.
Out of those 103,000, how many have it in their top 4?
Oh, stupid high. I'm gonna go. Well, oh fuck! What was it last time? Something. The last one we had was like 1,200 or something stupid, and I didn't expect that.
For what? For seconds or for Spellbound?
One of them was like a really, really high number, and I didn't expect it.
So seconds had 152. Spellbound had 48.
Okay.
Oh, so wait, Spider-Man maybe. Hold on. Spider-Man at 208.
Yeah, that's still low. Okay, I'm gonna go for this one. 425.
Way higher.
Really? 1,200.
Way higher.
Oh fuck. 2,600.
Way higher.
Really? 48 and I'm done.
4,700 people have this in their top 4.
Jesus.
Like 4.5 or 5% of all people who have logged this have this in their top 4. By the way, Parasite. Do you want to guess how many people have put Parasite in their top 4 out of 785,000?
40. I'm gonna guess like 47,000.
No, it's not that high. It's 22,000. No, it's crazy.
It's crazy high.
Ridiculous. Like just like it's a stupid amount.
Yep.
The reason I don't really want to do there are so many people I could click on, and like I found one, but like it's not a great one. So like I don't even want to
Never
do
mind.
whatever. So like that's
It's
why
all
I wanted
good.
to also do the car game because like the other half of the letterbox game is kind of underwhelming. So we're gonna do the what Hector says the Bachelorette game show car picture. So he's got a trio of cars and he wants to do the
Okay.
Carlorette game. They're very different, except that they represent different types of motorsports. They're all Japanese because they're the
Oh.
best.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay, so if you remember, we did this on episode 100. So Joe is asking Bachelor number 1, Bachelor number 2, and Bachelor number 3 questions about these cars to try to get some clues. And I will give kind of more specific, more helpful clues if I can in response. So please hit me with anything you want to go.
Hi. Nice to meet you, all of you. My name's Joe. I have a question for all of you. Could you describe, if we were taking a drive, what kind of road you would like to take a drive on?
Well, the interesting thing is that we all love different kinds of roads. I'm
That's
so
what I
glad you
thought.
asked.
It's you guys. Yeah, it seems like it.
You know, this is me, Bachelorette number 1, right now talking, and I would say that I love a nice drive down Main Street. I can kind of go on the highway, I can go on the byway, I can go down Main Street. I would say, I can take you most places you want to go when I've been around the block a time or two, if you know what I mean.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. That's perfect. I too have been around the block. So, yes.
This is Bachelorette number 2 right now.
Yeah?
Like I really, you know what my favorite drive to do is? I love
What?
hopping in the car, putting the kids in the back, loading the suitcases with all the luggage in the back, and just being like, you know what? We're taking a trip. We're just going up to the coast, and we're gonna go, spend the weekend at my parents' house or wherever, just a cabin somewhere. You know what I mean? But like, we're going on a trip. We're
Like
loading
a
everything
like an
up. We're going on a trip.
excursion.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of space. Yeah. Okay. Okay, Bachelor number 3.
What Bachelor number 2 said about the windy road. I love a windy road. I love one where it's the precision of it all. It's the show me that you're a great driver. Show me how you drift, and I'll show you who you are.
You're like a little okay, okay. Oh, let's see here. Bachelorette number 1. If I was coming to pick you up, would I sit in the front or the back, or do you not have a back seat?
Do have a back seat. Thank you for asking. Thank you for
Okay.
noticing. I think either one. I think it's a
How
I'm a
curvy
very
are you back
versatile girl.
there?
Pretty boxy.
Pretty boxy. Okay, okay.
In some of these pictures, I do like to get a little dirty though.
Oh, okay, 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 okay.
Also, I'm white.
Well, that's one of my criteria. So perfect. This is fully 1980s dating game. Bachelorette number 2.
Mm-hmm.
I like to do adventure things. Do you like adventure things?
I love adventure things.
If we were taking a trip to go, somewhere spacious, could I possibly put like my bikes there or snowboards or something? Like, do you have some space for that? Maybe on top of the car or something?
I googled what the type of car that I am, and I got a couple different definitions here that seem to be at odds with one another. I was talking about how I like to put all the luggage in the back, which seems like one of these definitions for sure. But like looking at looking at myself in the mirror, I don't know that that's actually true.
Okay.
It does look like I have a big rear, but I wouldn't say no. I don't think you really put you can't really put bikes on me. I think I'm more I'm a little sportier. I'm a little
Okay.
I like to wear Lululemon. Just get out there and just keep myself in shape.
Okay. Okay. Bachelorette number 3.
Mm-hmm.
How old are you?
I hear you like Paris, Texas. I hear it's your favorite movie of all time. It came out a couple years before I was born.
Couple before you.
The literal definition of a couple.
Do you have anything special about you, Bachelor number 3? Like, do you have any type of special engine components?
Let me find out. Let me take my top off for you and let me see what's going on.
Are we in the peep show? Firmly in the peep show room?
We are firmly. You mind if I just take my sweater off?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think so. What I will say though, I like to get myself right and also tight, so I don't weigh a lot. I'm a cheap
Light.
date. I'm a cheap date, if you know what I mean.
Cheap.
And you can really do what you want with me.
That doesn't help. Okay.
Also, I love drifting.
Oh, I know. I got
Also, I was featured heavily in the anime series Initial D, which we talked about, I think, forever ago.
Okay.
And I've been called a cult icon.
Okay.
Inextricably interwoven with the earliest days of drifting.
Is it a Toyota?
I am.
Okay, cool. Bachelorette number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Are you, by any chance...
We're all from different families, by the way.
I imagine so. Does anybody ever confuse you for Australian?
Oh boy, I remember talking about this a while ago. I need to remember what this means. No, I don't think so.
Fuck.
Can you be more specific with what you're actually asking?
Are you Subaru?
I am not. None of us are.
Fuck. Okay, cool. No Subarus.
That's what I thought with the emblem or whatever. But yeah, no, none of us are Subarus.
And nobody's like a van, right?
Nope. We are all cars.
Bachelorette number 1. Can I make a guess? I don't know what 2 is. Can I make some guesses?
Sure.
1, is it like an
I think
Evo?
I still exist, by the way. I think number 1, I still exist.
Is it a Mitsubishi?
Uh-huh.
Is it like an Evo rally sport? Some kind of
Nope.
Evo? Some kind of Lancer rally sport?
Nope. But it's a car I've heard of.
It's a rally car?
No,
were you implying with dirty, I was hoping?
I stopped being made a couple years ago. I'm, how do I describe me?
Mitsubishi Eclipse?
Nope.
Because, like, what else would be, like, the sporty ones?
I'm just, I'm more of like an everyday kind of compact sedan.
Oh, really? Like a Galant?
Uh-huh.
Oh, damn. Okay, cool.
It means chivalrous.
Damn, that's like run-of-the-mill fucking sedan. Okay,
That's why I was trying to go with Main Street.
Okay, yeah. Okay. 3, Toyota FD.
Nope.
What is it? A Corolla?
It's a kind. So the name
FD,
of it is part of a series of a Corolla line, but there's more specific than just a Corolla.
Then what is it?
I'm the AE86 series of the Toyota Corolla 11 and the Toyota Sprinter Trueno.
Oh, Trueno! AE87. Yeah, he talks about that. And all I got for 2 is like, is it like a fucking van?
No.
Okay, like a station wagon? Some kind of
No.
wagon-y type thing?
So here's where the confusion comes in. So
Okay.
number 2 is a touring car.
Okay.
Which is apparently both a type of race car and just like a car that you like load the kids up in the luggage. But this is more of a race car, more of a sportier car than the other.
Like Grand Touring.
I will say it is very near and dear to your heart for specific reasons related to this podcast.
For specific reasons related to this podcast, this car is near and dear to my heart, and it's Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a Supra?
Nope. We had a Toyota, didn't we? Or no, did we not?
We had a Toyota. It was the third one.
But they're all different families.
Yeah, they're all different. So is this one like a Honda, an Acura?
Nope.
Is it Subaru, Mitsubishi? Is it a Mazda?
Nope.
Which one am I missing?
Brian O'Connor would be very disappointed.
Nissan?
Mm-hmm.
Is it a Skyline?
Mm-hmm.
So what the fuck are you putting luggage in the Skyline?
Well, because I go... It's got a biggish trunk, kind of, sort of.
I was firmly convinced this was like Brian's Dodge Grand Caravan from like 7. That's where I was going.
Instead of actually looking at the car, I was more so in the touring car of it all, because I was like, I don't know, because he wrote Nissan Skyline R32 GTR touring car, so I was like, oh, what's a touring car? I was like, oh, and like I didn't look at the car pictures again.
Well played, sir.
Whoops. But yeah,
it's all good. We got there eventually.
But thank you, Hector, for sending that in. I hope you enjoyed our
dude. The bland cars are
150.
fucking hard, man. Like if you send in like a regular Chevy Impala, it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, because like the Galant VR4 is just like, oh, this is just a car that you would see in a parking lot. Then it's also him in like a dirt rally or whatever. But like, it's just that, yeah. And then like even this Skyline like just kind of looks like there's 2 different ones. I sent you all the pictures on Facebook, but like,
okay, let me see.
There's like the regular Skyline, which is just like, oh, that kind of just looks like a car, and then there's like one that's like on a racetrack.
Oh, this is an old ass Galant that's like this rally one. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's an 88 Galant, it's a 91 Skyline, and it's an AE86. So it's like 3 pictures and 3 pictures and 4 pictures.
Yeah. And all the same fucking country is also hard.
He did it to mess with you, and I think he won. I would say you got like partial credit on 1, most credit on 3, and then, you were sort of misled a little bit by my errant Googling on 2. But
It's all
you didn't
good.
really hit a home run on any, but you were on base at least for 2 of them, so that's not bad.
Yeah, that was difficult. That was very, very hard. We're not doing that again for another 50 episodes.
Well, we don't have any more of those. We have other car pictures, though. We have
I
1,
know.
2,
I was just
3,
laughing.
4, 5, 6, 7 more car pictures, I think. So we still got a lot, considering we don't do these very often. But
I was
yeah.
just like laughing that like, oof, they're tough. They're fucking hard.
Well, thank you, Hector, for sending that in, and thank you to all of you for listening for 150 episodes, or however long you've been here. If this is episode 1, I think if this is the first episode you listen to, it's probably because you Googled Paris, Texas, and you're still not listening by the time this Bachelorette car game started. So, like, you're not here. This is not anybody's first episode. If it is, okay.
Also, the timestamp was in the fucking description. Okay, if you're mad, it was right there. Just look down.
Boy, oh boy. But yes, thank you all for listening. Any other thoughts about anything, Joe, or do you want to come back on Friday for your boy Leo in Shutter Island?
No, I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about Shutter Island.
For all things Too Fast, Too Forever, you go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFastTooForever, or at TooFastTooForever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page at TooFastTooForever.com and find our TeePublic store. I gotta get a better URL. We gotta have a vanity URL. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Just find it.
Yeah.
Search Too Fast, Too Forever on TeePublic. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too.
And we'll tell you all about it
when we see you again.